Hello everyone, I'm Arvind Gautam, Regional Sales Director at SNUG Technologies. Today I want to talk about something that fundamentally changing how business operates, the convergence of generative AI and automation platforms. Here is the reality. In the last 18 months, we have seen more disruption in the business operations than the previous 10 years combined. Companies that were processing 100 invoices per day with a team of 5 are now processing 500 invoices with a team of 3. Customer support team handling 1,000 tickets per week are now managing 3,000 tickets with the same headcount. This is not a science fiction. This is happening right now surrounding you. Either it's a big company or a small company, that doesn't matter. But companies have started adopting GenAI and getting this kind of benefits currently. But here is what interesting. The winners are not necessarily the companies with the biggest AI budget or the largest tech teams or dedicated data science or LLM expertise. They are the companies that knows where to start and how to scale intelligently. So today, I'm going to answer two critical questions. First, if you are new to GenAI automation, where exactly should you start to get the real value fast without massive engineering investment? And the second, as you scale, how do you avoid creating a fragmented mess of workflows while keeping the speed and flexibility that made automation attractive in the first place? Let's dive in. So first, let's level set on what changed. The GenAI market is projected to grow from 41 billion to today to 207 billion by 2030. But more importantly, what GenAI enables is a fundamentally different from traditional automation. So traditional automation was like a recipe exactly. So if you follow that recipe exactly, you can achieve your goal, your target. If the recipe says add a salt, you add salt. But if someone writes add seasoning, the system breaks because system don't know how to handle that one. GenAI automation is different. It is understand that add seasoning could mean salt and other ingredient as well, and it's a region about the context. Here is a real example from our client. A mid-sized insurance company was processing claims. Traditional automation could extract data from perfectly formatted PDFs, form filled out correctly, clear text, standard formats. But that that was the case for them. Their claims were not coming in the perfectly formatted. 40% of the claims comes as a photo taken in the smartphone, handwritten notes or emails with incomplete information. Traditional automation failed on all of these because they didn't understand how to interpret, how to manage this one. But with the GenAI, they now process all claims, perfect PDF, blurry photos, incomplete form with 95% accuracy. Processing time went from 4 hours to 15 minutes, and that's not incremental improvement. That's transformation in their business operation and processing of the claims. The GenAI brings three game-changing capabilities. One is a natural language understanding. It's read emails written by frustrated customer at 2 a.m. and understand intent, urgency, and emotion, not just the keyword, which was the traditional one were doing. The two, unstructured data handling. Documents, image, audio, video, visuals, GenAI can process formats that traditional automations couldn't touch because that capability they don't have. Three, contextual reasoning. It doesn't just follow rules, it considers context, make judgment calls within defined parameters, and handle edge cases that didn't explicitly program. And if it's required, you can do human intervention or automated approval. So here is the ROI statistics and the business impact. We are seeing consistent pattern across implementation. 30 to 60% time saving on automated tasks, 85 to 95% error reduction, and ROI typically achieved under 6 months. Most importantly, which was not possible earlier, the payback period of 2 to 6 months, not 2 to 6 years, and that was a major setback for the companies to take this initiative. This brings us the first critical question: where do you start? So, for automation, new to GenAI design automation, you need to framework that can identify high impact workflows that deliver quick, measurable value without heavy engineering investment. I call this as a rapid framework, which is repetitive, available, pinpoint, impactful, and definable. Repetitive, as its name suggests, looks for tasks that happen frequently, daily or weekly, not quarterly or not yearly. The more repetition, the more value you will extract. For example, daily report generation, invoice costing, customer inquiry responses. A. Available. The data and system you need are accessible. You don't need to build a new system or wait for IT project to complete. This is crucial for quick wins. If you need to integrate with a legacy system that require 6 months of IT work, that's not your starting point, and that will increase your chances of failure. Pain point. So your team actively complains about this process. When I ask teams, what tasks do you hate doing? And they immediately have an answer. That's your target. Employee pain equals automation gain. So always ask your team what tasks they don't like to do or they hate to do. And then you have to take that one. Then it's impactful. The process affects business outcome you care about. Revenue, customer satisfaction, cost or compliance. Automate something that matters, not just something that easy. And that's it. Don't choose something that you just want to showcase that you have automation. Do the meaningful that can give the value add in your organization. Then it's definable. You can clearly explain the process and its rules. If you can't document the workflow in 2 pages, it's too complex for your first automation. So try to define that can be a smaller document rather than multi-page page document and looks like a white page or the longest user story.
So let me give you some real starting points from organizations I have worked with. So first example I have is a financial service, and that is a invoice processing. A lending company was processing 200 invoices daily. Each took 15 minutes for manual work, data entry, validation, approval, routing, and that's 50 hours of manual work every day. They started with N8N and OpenAI API, no custom development, no data science team, no major engineering work. Total implementation duration was 2 weeks. The workflow was something like this. Invoice arrive via email. GenAI extract all fields, vendor, amount, line item, and dates. Automated validation against purchase order that remove the manual intervention. A smart routing based on amount and vendor. So if one vendor is approved and amount is small, it can automatically approve that one. Or if it's a large amount, it can route to somebody as a human intervention. Auto approval for routing invoices under $5,000 based on the value. Set the threshold. If it's less than $5,000, it can be auto approved. Otherwise, go for exception handling. Human review queue for exceptions based on the rules and logic they have implemented. The result was outstanding. 80% of invoices fully automated. Processing time reduced from 15 minutes to 2 minutes. Error rate dropped from 8% to 0.3%. And ROI achieved in 3 weeks. This is something like not a vague, it's a realistic scenario, and they have achieved this. Why this work as a starting point? The work was highly repetitive, 200 invoices per day. Data available, email PO system have APIs. Major pain point, finance team was joining because of all these repetitive processing and the data matching from different sources. And this have a direct cost impact. Clear rules and exceptions can be defined. Now, example 2, the e-commerce customer that have a support rise. So an online retailer received 500 plus support emails daily. Response time was 24 hours to 48 hours because the manpower was not able to handle these emails as a manual. Customer satisfaction was suffering. They were not getting any responses or anything as the preliminary responses. So the customer have implemented the GenAI powered trial system using make.com and Cloud AI API. Implementation time was around 10 days. The system, the flows like this. The system analyzed incoming emails for intent, urgency, and sentiment, classified them based on the categories. So like order status, the classification was 40%, product question categorization was 30%, and complaint was 20% around the categorization. Other bucket, they put 10%. For order status, automatically look up order, generate response with the tracking info. For product question, search knowledge base, draft answer. For complaints, extract key issues, route to senior agent with the related context. and all responses are reviewed by human before sending to customer. Now the question why this worked. It's a repetitive, like 500 plus emails daily they were handling. All data available like order system, knowledge base, all API and data is available. So no need of any engineering or IT project to provide you the connectors or integration. Customer complaint were a major pain point because customer was frustrated to get delay in responses. Direct impact on NPS scores and clear categorization and responses. So next example I have from manufacturing company. There is a quality control reporting. So manufacturer had 5 production lines. Each line supervisor spent 2 hours daily compiling quality reports, pulling data from multiple systems, calculating metrics, formatting report, sending to management. They automate using NA10 with simple data transformation. No GenAI needed for this because there was no intelligence required, just like a formatting and auto routing based on the rules required. Just workflow automation was implemented. Implementation was quick. It took 1 week time and the task achieved. And the results were outstanding. The report auto-generated daily at 6 a.m. 10 hours per day saved across supervisor. Supervisor now spend time analyzing trends instead of compiling data and juggling with the Excel sheets and all these data sources. The lesson here, not everything needed GenAI. Start with the right tool for the right job, and you need to select what is the needed for that particular job rather than putting a multiple tools or heavy tools for the simple job. So this is something that you need to categorize and you need to identify. So here is the practical starting point, a worksheet approach. How you can define which tool and which process you need to automate. So step 1, list the process. It may take around 15-minute time of yours. So get your team in a room, ask what task takes up most of your time and you wish would just happen automatically. Write everything down. And with 15 minutes every day, you can achieve this one. Then step 2, apply rapid, which we discussed earlier, rapid framework. It may also take around 15-minute time for you to do this qualification. For each process, score 1 to 5 on each rapid criteria, multiply the score. Then step 3, pick your winner in 5-minute time. The highest scoring process is your starting point. Now step 4. So you have to validate whatever you have done earlier. So this may take around 1 week time. Document the current workflows, measure current time and cost, identify the right tools. Then go to next step, that build pilot. Spend 2 to 4 weeks here, or this may be longer or this may be shorter based on your use case. But start small rather than big, maybe just 10% of the value. Test, refine, then scale, and don't try to solve the all problem at once. Try to solve problem by one and take a small steps rather than the bigger leap. Now let me tell you the mistakes I see in organization when starting. Mistake 1, starting too big. So the company said, let's automate our entire order to cash process. No, start with one piece, maybe invoice processing or payment reconciliation, rather than taking everything all together where you have to spend a lot of energy, a lot of money, manpower, and then result may not be as per your expectation. So you need to start with a small one process. Then mistake number 2, the perfectionism. Many organizations I have seen, they look 100% accuracy from the day one. Before we launch, we need 100% accuracy. We can't go with the 90% or 10% error rate and all. But I suggest you won't get 100% from the day one. Start with 80 to 90% accuracy, handle exception manually, whatever 10 or 20% required for the time being, and improve over time. Maybe it will take a longer time to mature your model, but that will give you very exceptional results, and that will be the best way to process. Step number 3, ignoring the team. Many times there is a tussle. People say that, okay, we are doing automation and we don't need a team because the guy who do automation feel that I can do everything. But this is a big mistake. Building automation without involving the people who do the work is a recipe of failure because they know the edge cases, the tricks, the workaround, and their day-to-day how they manage that one. So involve them from the day one to make your story successful and avoid the problems which they already face and they have a solution for that. Now the mistake 4, wrong tool selection. So many guys that this they know the complex tools and they try to implement complex tools for the smaller requirement or easy task. So like don't use your line chain and the custom code when Zapier or N8N or make.com would work fine. So match tool complexity to your team capability rather than just for your knowledge or your understanding or your show off, you can select the tool. The mistake number 5, no success matrix. Many times people don't define the success matrix. They just start and they feel that over the time they will keep achieving and they will keep monitoring. But if you don't have a defined criteria, you can't define, you can't measure how your cost save, how much time you save. So if you don't measure time saved, cost reduced, error eliminated, you can't prove value or justify the expansion. And the company may say after some time they don't need this kind of automation because they don't see the value. So the first thing, you have to define the matrix always, that how much time you want to save, how much value you want to save, how much repetition you want to save, and then you can start your process. So to summarize the answer to question 1, where to start? As per my recommendation and my experience, number 1, you have to use rapid framework to identify workflows. Then you have to look for repetitive, painful, high impact process where data is available rather than doing any engineering or custom work. Then start a pilot of 2 to 4 weeks on a single process rather than taking multiple things together. Measure everything from the day one, like a process time, accuracy rate, resources utilization, ROI calculation, and avoid 5 mistakes which we discussed earlier in the previous slide to get foolproof plan. And the most important thing, you don't need a data science team or $1 million budget. You need clarity on where you'll get the most value and the discipline to start small rather than taking everything together as a big project, as a big process, and you can create a recipe for your failure. So keep in mind, go with the small task. Now let's talk about what happens when your pilot works and you want to scale. Here is what happened in most organizations. You build a successful pilot. The finance team automated invoice processing. They thrilled. Word is spread. Now HR want to automate onboarding. Sales want to automate lead qualification. Marketing want to content generation. IT wants incident management automation. Everybody want their own use cases to be implemented. 6 months later, you have a 47 different automation built by 12 different people using 5 different tools with a zero documentation. Now, the challenge starts. Nobody knows what's connected to what. Something breaks and you spend 3 days figuring out where the problem. Now automation solution has become automation nightmare. This is the pattern I see repeatedly. The question is not whether to scale. If automation works, you should scale. The question is how to scale without creating a chaos. So based on the implementation across dozens of organizations, there are 4 essential pillars for scaling generative AI automation. The centralized standard, federated execution, observable operations, and evolutionary architecture. So these are most important pillars which I have identified. Let me explain each. So what is centralized means? It means tool standardization. Like a pick 2 or 3 platforms, not 12. Many organizations facing this problem, each and every department select their tool based on the team expertise, and they do forget that how they will manage later. So for example, N8N for complex workflow, Zapier for quick integration, LangChain for custom AI. That's it. It should be your approved list in your organization because you know how to manage this one. Then security requirement. It's a non-negotiable security standard applied to all automation. So many times we park the security for the later stage. So firstly, we do all these workflow development, and security we say, okay, we'll do later, and that requires a lot of rework and re-engineering. So try to inherit from the day one, like encryption, access control, audit logging, data retention. Everything should be implemented for all the workflows rather than anything exempted and later you face a problem. Then the next one is architecture patterns. The standard pattern for common scenarios. This is how do we use webhook processing. This is how we call GenAI API. This is how we handle errors. Cost governance, budget allocation per team, cost monitoring, approval threshold for expensive AI model. So we need to see that which model is used for what purpose and why we need that one. There may be possibility we can use a smaller model or lightweight model for a smaller task rather than doing deep research and spending a lot of tokens. The next is the federated means. What is the federated? Team build their own automation within their guardrails. No central approval for every automation. Business team own their workflow. IT provide the platforms and a standard, not the development. So in this case, you just provide the guidelines and they can do by their own and they can manage by their own. In this way, the speed within guardrails, the results are outstanding, and the organization can move quickly while maintaining control and security. So here I can give you one example. That's a real life example from one of my customers. The healthcare company we work with set these standards. Require tool N10 self-hosted for HIPAA compliance. Require all patient data encrypted. All API key secret manager. And all workflow logged there also in the reporting one. Pattern library. Pre-built pattern for common task. API call, data validation, GenAI processing. So that they should not implement something new and they can follow the guidelines which is given. Budget. Each department gets 2K per month for API and AI cost. So they have to manage their own API usage, token usage within that. The result, department built 34 automation in 4 months, 0 security incident and total chaos avoided. And that was given a full satisfaction to organization as they don't have to manage each and everything separately. And all the departments have followed the guidelines, guardrails, and achieve their task. Observable operations. This is a pillar 2. You cannot scale what you cannot see. Every automation needs observability built in from day one. What you need to observe. Observational matrix means execution count and success rate, how many times you executed, how much time you save, and total how much one process has saved. Processing time, average P95 to P99, what is your achievement, error type and frequency, how many errors you have avoided and how frequently, queue depth and processing lag. So how long it was taking as a manual or different one, different process, but how long it's taking from here and how long the queue was waiting. So all these things you need to measure. Then business metrics, we need to define time saved, hours per week, cost impact, dollars saved based on the employee cost and the business cost. Quality metrics, error rate, customer satisfaction, and then adoption, how many people using it. So these things you have to define. Technical metrics, API latency and timeout rates, GenAI token usage and cost, integration health, and cache hits rate. Now, how you can do the dependency mapping? This is a big question. So what system does this automation touch? If Salesforce goes down, which 12 automation breaks? So all the dependency you need to also identify in advance to see that one that is not something that break from your side, but it can break from outside other applications as well. And you need to mitigate or you need to define what to do in case this happen. So see problem before they become arise. So that's a model you have to adopt. So it's a real dashboard example. So a financial service client built a centralized dashboard which is showing all their automation, how many they have developed. So like 73 active automation they have. They can see the real-time stats, running, pause, error state, and last 24 hours stats, that what happened during the last 24 hours. Cost burn rate by team. So like marketing is burning how much, finance is burning how much, IT is burning how much, and they can define, okay, this within approved budget or this is overachieving. So they have to warn them that guys, you need to look at your model. And then top error rates, how your error source are going on. Workflow at risk, which workflow is causing a lot of problem, like a high failure rate, approaching cost limit, and then you have to work out on those. This visibility enables them to scale confidently because they could see problem before they become crisis. And that's how you need to also follow the same thing to see everything in the single dashboard or in the measurable form where you can observe them, and then based on that you can monitor and take a decisions. So let's talk about the pillar 3. That's a design principle for flexibility. As you scale, you need a design principle that maintain flexibility while avoiding fragmentation. The principle 1, modularity. Build a small, reusable component, non-monolithic workflows. How this you can achieve? So one giant workflow that does invoice processing from start to finish, that's a bad approach. So you need to convert that to good approach. That is defined something like that separate module for data extraction, validation, approval routing, and ERP integration. Why this is required? Because when you need to change validation logic, you change one module. All workflow using that module benefits. You are not updating 12 different copies of the same logic, but single place can applicable for everywhere. And the testing time will be smaller and change time also smaller. So principle 2, API first integration. Always integrate via API, never via shared database or file dumps. Why this is required? Because API have a contracts. When the contract change, you know that what breaks. Database sharing is a hidden dependency and the nightmare in the long term. The principle 3, fail gracefully. Every automation should have error handling that doesn't cascade failure. So like if the GenAI API is down, queue the request for retry. If the CRM is slow, implement circuit breaker. If validation fails, route the human review. Queue, not just the crash. The principle 4, version control. Every workflow should be version control. What change, when and whom. Use Git for an A10 workflow. Use version history in Zapier. When something breaks, you can roll back. So principle 5, documentation as a code. Every workflow should be self-documenting as description to each node. Use clear naming convention. Future your colleague will thank you and present you because you have done very fantastic job. The code itself is a detailed defined and that can help for any developer for the future. So principle 6, integration pattern. Establish standard integration patterns where event-driven, use webhook for real-time triggers, batch processing, schedule based for the non-urgent data sync, request response synchronous for user-facing interface, and the pub/sub message queue for decoupled system. Don't mix patterns unnecessarily. Pick the right pattern for each use case and stick with yours. So like as a modularity example where you have to build a smart, not big, and focus on modularity for long-term focus, where you have to do the separate work module for separate task. Then the pillar 4, you need a lightweight governance structure that enables speed, not prevents it. Define a team called Center of Excellence, COE, a small team, 3 to 5 people, that maintain standard and patterns, provide training and support, review complex automation, not all automation, manages platform upgrade, shares best practices. Then you need to define another guy like automation champion, one person per department, maybe 10 to 20% of their time, who support their team automation effort, bring requests and feedback to COE, ensure their team follows standard, and celebrate wins and share the lessons so that can be spread across all the teams. Next is review tiers. You can find which tasks need to be reviewed, which task doesn't review. So like tier 1, no review needed. Simple automation using standard patterns, low risk, low cost. Example, auto-generate weekly reports. Then next one is tier 2, peer review. Moderate complexity, medium risk or cost review by champion or experienced colleague. Example, customer data processing. Tier 3, COE review. High complexity, high risk or high cost security review. Architecture review. Example, financial transaction automation and PI processing. Then the last one, you have monthly office hours. COE holds monthly session for anyone building automation to ask questions, share struggle, demo and solution. Then you can define the quarterly review. Every automation gets a health check, like it's still being used, it's still delivering values, any issues or optimization opportunities should be retired or upgraded. What not to do when scaling? Central approval for everything, create bottleneck, kills speed, do set standards, less team build within guardrails, Tool sprawl, 15 different automation tools. To standardize 2 to 3 platforms based on use cases. No documentation, the workflow is self-explanatory. Do require documentation for all workflows. Individual ownership. Only one person know how it works. No. The team ownership, knowledge sharing and documentation. Set and forget. Build once, never review. No, don't do this. Do quarterly review, continuous optimization, and review for each and every task. So let me share the real scaling success story. A mid-sized retailer started with one automation and went. It worked well. Over 18 months, they scaled to 89 automation across 7 departments. How they did it? Month 1 to 3, build pilot, establish COE, 3 people, documented standards. Month 4 to 6, train department champions, build pattern library, establish review process. Month 7 to 12, rolled out to all departments with support, monthly office hours started, build central observability and dashboard. Month 13 to 18th, continuous optimization, quarterly review, retired 8 automations that were not delivering value, optimizing 23 of cost saving. The result was fantastic. 89 automation running, 347 hours saved per week, 1.2 million annual cost saving, 0 security incident, 94% automation success rate. Average time from idea to production is 2 weeks. The keys, the balance is standard with the flexibility. Team could move fast, but within guardrails. The key to success, the balance is standard and flexibility. They set guardrails as a standard. They got out of the way. That's a flexibility. And the results are like fast movement without any chaos. Balance enables team to move quickly while maintaining control. Scaling is not about control, but it's about enabling. Question 2 summary. Scaling without fragmentation. So summarize the answer. How you scale without fragmentation. So like centralized standards, federated execution, then observable operations, then design for flexibility, lightweight governance. And scaling automation is not about control, it's about enabling teams to move fast while avoiding the chaos that comes from the complete freedom. So let me bring this all together. We are in the middle of fundamental transformation in how business operates. GenAI powered automation is not coming, it's here. The question is whether you will be leader or. For those who are just starting, use the rapid framework, find process that are repetitive, data available, pain point for your team, impactful to business outcome, and definable. Start with a 2 to 4 week pilot, measure everything, start small, but start now. For those who are scaling, balance is everything, centralized standard, but federated execution. Make everything observable, design for modularity and flexibility, implement lightweight governance that enables speed. So let's talk about the mistakes. So 3 mistakes that will derail you. 1. Waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. Start with what you have. 2. Building without involving your team. The people doing the work know where the value is and where the landmines are. The 3. Scaling without governance. Your successful pilot can become an ungovernable mess if you don't build the right structure. Here is what I want you to remember. The companies winning with GenAI automation are not necessarily the ones with the biggest budget or the best engineers or the biggest LLM or generative AI or the data science team. They are the ones with the clarity on where to start and discipline on how to scale. So here are your next steps. This week, identify your first automation. Target using the rapid framework, just one process. Next week, select your tool, document the current workflow, and design the automated version. Week 3, build a pilot, test it, measure it. Build 4, scale what to work. And remember, you don't need a permission to start. You need a process, a tool, and the commitment to begin. So here the final thought. The time is now. The best time to plant the tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So just start growing tree from a small plantation and get a bigger one. Thanks everyone for giving your time and attention for this session. Here is my details where I'm Arvind Gautam, Regional Sales Director at SNUG Technologies. My email ID is here and my LinkedIn link is also here. You can reach out to me for any questions, any queries. and I'm happy to answer. Thanks a lot for your time. Have a good day. Bye bye.